When creating a 10x community, a community that delivers 10 times more value to its members per unit of energy consumed than the status quo, one of the core foundations is a set of paradigms. And so at 10xliving.org, in the dimension arena of the site, a foundation is paradigm. Now, there's a couple of really core paradigms along with a number of sub-paradigms that I encourage you to explore. The first is 10x thinking itself, the awareness that it is easier, that it is more efficient, that it is more intelligent to create a structure, in this case a community, that is 10 times better than the status quo, than it is to create something that's just twice as good. Meaning it takes almost as much energy, if not more, to create something that's twice as good, or even 50% as good, as it does to go back to first principles and build something entirely new from scratch. So the paradigm of 10x thinking. The second paradigm is the paradigm of intelligence, which is the principle of minimizing unnecessary waste of energy. So spending less energy to create more sustainable well-being. Part of that, and a subcategory of that, is wholeness or balance, which ties in with the principle of symmetry. And so when you look at the circle, which is the entire process, so in a circle of life, you have birth, you have growing, you have middle age, you have dying, you have death. And so if you look at and design all of those different sections in balance, you've got more grace than if you put all your energy on one of those stages and ignore the others. You have the balance of heart, mind, and body. When you develop your body, your mind, and your heart, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, your competency in those areas equally, you have more balance, more grace, more efficiency than if you develop your body but don't know what to do with it, or develop your mind in discord and in without developing your emotional intelligence. So you have the balance of masculine and feminine, the ultimate polarity of yin and yang. You have a number of different arenas. Now, the primary, and there's a link below in the video or in the more information section of YouTube to explore the paradigms, but the primary awareness is that Dunbar's law, which shows that the human brain is only capable of accurately tracking information about perhaps 150 people with great intimacy. That if you go above this number, you create a dynamic where you're interacting with lots of people that you do not see clearly and that do not see you clearly. In this dynamic, there is an exponential increase in violation, assumptions, taboos, dishonor and disrespect of things sacred to the other person, no awareness of their symbol, their symbols, no context for why they're doing what they're doing. And in that state of violation, of disrespect, of dishonor, you create pain. Pain that is not attended to, and again, there's no time when you have a very large number of people, pain that is not attended to leads directly to stimulating the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain of fight, flight, and freeze creates more violation. More violation that is unattended to leads to, again, more pain. But this also then leads to more and more energy going into pain management, prison systems, police systems, restraining orders, locks, boundaries, fear, defense, hiding. And as you transfer more and more energy to defending yourself from an incompetent environment that does not know how to honor you and that you do not know how to honor, you are spending more and more energy on the equivalent of the military budget and less energy growing, healing, loving, etc. And so one of the most profound and important principles is to create close proximity, intimacy, with roughly 100, 150 people. Now, so that's one key source. If you can create high competency in trustworthiness, leading to high trust, then the defense budget of each person can go down, and that energy is repurposed towards competency in a variety of different ways, deepening relationship, which leads directly to quality of life. The other key principle is of the efficiency of roughly 100 people eating together. If you look at a drill, for example, almost every home in America has a cordless drill, and it's used maybe 5 minutes a month. If you look at a kitchen, most homes in America have a kitchen. The kitchen is utilized less than 5% of the time. If you take all the homes in America and then look at how many minutes a kitchen was in use per capita, you've got a tremendous amount of waste, in particularly when you consider the fact that many people are investing $70,000 in my neck of the wood in just a kitchen remodel, let alone the core structure. And so when you spend that amount of money for a resource that is used 5% of the time, you're sleeping 8 hours a day, you're out working, and so you may skip at least 2 meals, then many people won't use the kitchen, they'll order takeout. So this tremendous resource in many homes is not used at all, other than to maintain the refrigerator, and then 50% of food is thrown out. So when you combine people together so that the equivalent of 3 or 4 home kitchens provides for 100 people, then with food preparation and cleanup, etc., the kitchen utilization goes up to more than 50%. So you create a 10x improvement in kitchen, reduced kitchen energy. Similarly, many people in our cult of America drive or spend 2 hours. They spend 2 hours of their day driving to and coming back from work. Now, of course, you have the issue of pollution, fossil fuels, car wear and tear, road wear and tear, and all that. But you're also taking 20% of a person's life and just taking it out of circulation. And if you can give that back to someone by allowing them to walk to work, you get all kinds of exponential efficiencies. You can delete the vehicle. A car can be 30% of a person's salary. So you delete the vehicle, which helps the environment. You delete the commute, but you also create a dynamic where you've deleted the vehicle, etc. You've got 2 more hours of time. You also reduce adrenaline, which means a higher bonding. It's a different chemical mix of the community interactions, because you didn't just hit someone, you didn't just get cut off, you didn't almost get hit, you didn't race to get through the red light, you didn't have a siren passing you and see a car on the road. So your adrenaline is much lower as a set point. And then there's also the dynamics of clothing expense and dressing for work and all of this. If you can create a dynamic where 70 out of 100 people that are working are able to walk to the community bakery and bake bread for all of the community members, walk to the kitchen and cook for the community members, walk to the garden and grow food and harvest food for the community members, walk to the homes and participate in landscaping, walk to a new community member's space and help them construct a tiny house mortgage-free. Do therapy when there's conflicts and issues by walking to someone who already knows the situation and is simply, so if your therapist lives in community, you know the flaws of your therapist, which is good to know, but also your therapist can walk and has a relationship with your friends and say, is this a pattern? Where is Dane's, what's Dane doing that's hurting himself across the board? You know him. What do you see here? A therapist can do this while having lunch and provide more constructive, quote, therapy to someone than they can who's driving in where you've never met the other family members. Because if you're a therapist and a client comes to you and describes their spouse as Satan's offspring, and the therapist never has a chance to meet the spouse, then the therapist is enabling a delusion that's actually severely damaging to their client, but who cares? The therapist is getting paid. And so, get a divorce and not deal with your issue, that it doesn't lead to constructive conflict resolution in the same way as a therapist who's dealing with, for example, a betrayal, who's loaned some money or some tools or offered a plate or something to the spouse in question and said, yeah, you also did that with me. You asked for something, you didn't follow up as you said, and you didn't fully apologize, and you didn't offer to fix the issue. And so now you're doing that to so-and-so, and that habit is destroying the community as well as your own reputation in it, and it's a good idea to change the habit. So every single thing is dramatically more efficient. And so the paradigm is by no means that, a 10x community is perfect, that there aren't trade-offs, that it might be annoying to go to the laundry room, with 12 laundry machines and discover they're all full, or to have to look at your app and click, and book a laundry slot rather than have your own laundry machine that you use less than 5% of the time. The washers and dryers in the United States are used less than 5% of the time. The tools are used less than 5% of the time. The dining room set, whole rooms of houses are used 1% of the time. For two or 3 days a year of hosting a guest or something. This is a tremendous amount of unnecessary energy consumption and waste. And the key is to design a system that's not perfect, that's not frictionless, but that has dramatically less friction. So the bet is that by reducing energy consumption by 70 to 90% in many areas, by reducing the financial cost of living by 70%, or you can fiddle with the model in your group and community. There's nothing stopping you from each having $1 million houses and stuff and still doing this, or hiring top class masseurs and teachers and coaches and resort style things. But this model offers the opportunity for a 70% reduction in the cost of living in terms of financial, which then also opens up career paths. Where I live here in Marin County, California, you cannot buy a house for less than $650,000. And there are only certain kinds of jobs that can support the salary needed to get a mortgage to buy a $650,000 house. And painter is not one of them. Masseur is often not one of them. Energy healer, is a little bit iffy. Organic gardener, absolutely not. And so there's all kinds of valuable jobs. Baker, now you're not going to be able to buy a $650,000 job on the salary of a baker in many cases. So then we reduce the quality of our food, our art, our diversity, simply because only lawyers and bankers and contractors and realtors and architects, et cetera, can afford that, and coders. A lot of these are Google jobs, can afford a house like that. But it's a tyranny of forcing people into already established businesses that are not necessarily very valuable for the species at this stage in evolution, but that will make a lot of money within the established norms of the dominant cult. So this is the core paradigm out of which this entire community emerges, that the benefits of providing 10 times the value for 1/10 of the energy are so high that it is worth the effort, the skill, the experiment, because there will be and needs to be hundreds of these communities, each with their own flavor and genesis and focuses, but all which start out with the goal of how can we create 10 times more value for our participants than, with less energy than the current status quo of living often highly waste-filled, highly isolated, low-quality lives in which we're working to pay for the house and the car rather than working for ourselves, our community, our family, or the species or the planet as a whole.